So by having everything start at the same scale, you can control what you want to give more scale to. I'm trying to get you guys used to thinking that everything should be the same before you change it. And when I show you the stuff in here, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about.
So it's more about avoiding future pitfalls at first.
It's if this object was real, it would all be one thing, all the same resolution. But I can't really afford to have everything be the same resolution, because you'll see when you break it up into 100 pieces, it's getting smaller. So what should I have that is bigger, and how do I go about doing that? And then you break it into a separate material ID, and then you make that one bigger by itself. You don't try and make it bigger necessarily on the same thing in a lot of cases. You can, if that's what you have to work with, but then you're losing some of the stuff to gain some of this stuff. So that's even worse than losing than trying to. It's not worse like you shouldn't do it. It's worse like that's worse for the game because you're saying, okay, I really want the face to be awesome, but I've got to have it all on one map. So I've got to make sure the face has the most resolution, but how do I do that? Now,
so you can actually scale your face to be bigger.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, the checker box would be big on the face.
Smaller on the face.
Right. Yeah, sorry. The pattern would be smaller.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause I think that's the same problem I was having with UVs as well, because the pixelation and stuff.
But then when you take it in a substance and you paint on it or you add layers or whatever, it's going to calculate the density based on 3D space, right? So
no, it's not. When you whatever you do for your UVs is how it calculates the density. And the density of the model is completely based, the density in substance is completely based on what your UVs are. Now, you can make the tile, basically you're doing this to the texture smaller or bigger in that same space. That's why it's not really tiling, because when you export it, it's one texture. If we look at the texture that's right here, for example.
Wait, who did that?
Me.
Oh, okay.
If we look at like this one. No, wait, double click on it here. There we go. If we look at this texture, this is out of substance, and it's locked to the same resolution.
Right, I got that. Yeah.
But if I wanted these to have more resolution, I had to break them off. So I did. I broke them into their own textures. And now they have more, which doesn't look like it does, but there's a reason this one doesn't look that way. It's really, let me see which one's the full one.
That's the little strip in between.
Yeah, I'll show you.
The transition part.
Well, okay, so remember I was telling you that there's a problem with baking stuff? Okay, so let me show you these three unwraps real quick. So this unwrap and this unwrap should be very similar. I think I broke this off and I don't know if I broke it off. I did break it off there. Let me unwrap this one and show you what it looks like to hopefully explain it better. Oh, I don't have my buttons, that makes me sad. I gotta make buttons, sorry. And I might as well do symmetry just so we can see that. Okay. And then we can get rid of the rest. Oh, come back to me. There we go. And then show buttons. There we go. Okay. So if we look at the unwrap of this one, this is the one that you guys saw me make for class. Okay, this is the exact same one. I've done a little bit of cleaning up. I think maybe. Let me see. What are you doing? That's not right. Okay, that's really sucky. That's the recording software that did that. When I pushed my shortcut, I went, no, we're gonna do something with the recorder. So let me see. Display selected faces. There we go. Okay. So this is the same one, and so is this one. Like that. And really, kind of so is this one, but this one's different, and I'll show you why. This one and this one, actually I'll just do this on this one.
Yeah, so I saw your seam going down the middle, so that's what I was going to ask if it was...
This is symmetry.
Symmetrized.
These are symmetried, and these are this was symmetried. You'll see it's not anymore. This is symmetried, and let me show you the problem with it when we get it into substance, you'll see. But let me show you the unwrap. If you look at the unwrap, which is over here, there's two material IDs. The material IDs are the body which I love that you show that, but no, let's do the checker. Which generally have the same resolution for the whole thing. What I did is I made all these pieces attached, and then this is, I changed when I went to the next one, but this is so I knew that if I went up the side of this wall and it went to here, it would still be congruent with it. So when I baked a texture for it, it would make sense. Sometimes you can't do that. Like in this one, I did it wrong, and by the way, this is a screw up I did somewhere when I was messing with it, so we'll have to say that was on purpose. Sometimes you can't do that, and I'll explain when you can't do that and why you don't want to do that. But for now, this is exactly the same as this. This is the original kind of thing that we made, and here's the same object as I symmetried it out and made it one big fat UVW. I took it.
So that UV is just a quarter of the whole thing? That you
Yes.
out?
Yeah, and you can see that, by the way, if you come in here and go to Edit Poly and just grab a whole thing. If I grab this and move, there's 4 of them.
Oh, okay.
They're just sitting right on top of each other.
And that happens automatically after you add the symmetry, or did you
Right.
add the
So if you
stack?
unwrap just the quarter, it'll happen automatically after you do the symmetry.
Got it.
Now the difference is, this one is different. This one is the same thing, okay? But this one I exported out, and I'll show you what happens when you work in Unity or in Substance with it. And this one I exported out, and you'll see. But when I go back to here real quick, let me show you the other thing about this is that it's UVs for, this is bigger. See how big they are on here? I gave them a ton of room because I wanted to do some extra stuff inside of the insets, which
And
is,
they're all unique.
and they're all unique.
Gotcha.
So I didn't have to worry about them stamping. If I do one on one, it'll do it on all of them.
Right.
Okay. So I made them unique. I knew that they probably needed the most detail because that's where the bas relief or the sculpting would be if I did it for if I was really making a coffin or something. Obviously, those are like supposed to be little windows into the whatever. So I did that. If you look at this unwrap,